Welcome back to Theme Park Universe. And we have me, the Theme Park Wizard, and over here, the Doctor, the Vash, and the Sky. How are you, Vash?
I am
Sky.
doing very well. Thank you so much for having me on this amazing episode of Theme Park Universe podcast. Today we are going over the gamut of theme park updates. Most of them having to do with Disney and Universal, but there's a lot of stuff going on in the world of Disney and Universal. Am I right, Wizard?
Tons. New rides, new boats, and much more.
Absolutely. First, we start off with Deadline. If you want to go ahead and share my screen, Disneyland's multi-decade $1.9 billion expansion plan clears crucial hurdle after contentious public meeting. And yes, it was contentious. I don't know if anybody saw our live stream yesterday. If you had, thank you so much for tuning in or for rewatching. But we covered some of the some of that Anaheim City Planning Commission meeting that went on for 6 hours, by the way.
Yeah. Wow, yeah. And then they just before midnight. Like, oh my.
Oh, it was a long time there, and there were definite emotions on both ends right there. But it says right here, Disney cleared a crucial hurdle today, and it's planned to revamp Disneyland to the tune of $1.9 billion over the next decade. Tops out at $2.5 billion, but not without contention. The Anaheim City Planning Commission voted 5-1, and we'll get to that in a moment, to approve sending the corporation's Disneyland Forward plan to the full City Council vote. And that City Council vote, by the way, that's going to take place, April 2nd or the 6th?
April 16th.
16th, okay, all right. Disneyland Forward would transform Walt Disney's original theme park over the coming decades, adding mixed-use amenities and attractions. Yes, amid an initial flood of glowing public statements, which, by the way, they seem to have put all the positive ones in the front and all negative in the back. That was also a contentious issue, according to people who were there. At the gathering from union members, hoteliers, residents, Disneyland cast members, and Disneyland Resort President Ken Potrock himself, the Planning Commission seemed to send the deal forward. Yes, that's true. But a wave of well-spoken public commenters against the project and sometimes wondering questions from Commissioner Sanders Perez, we'll get to that in a moment, folks, sent the meeting into its 6th hour before the final vote was taken. So how contentious was it? Well, we'll see a little bit of that right here via ABC7.
People who live in Anaheim have split opinions.
I'm in support of number 2 because of the jobs that it creates for the residents of Anaheim and for the food that it's going to put on the table.
You're saying yes to community affordable housing. You're saying yes to over 9,000 construction jobs, nearly 5,000 new cast members.
Have the traffic studies been shared with the public? I'm not aware of it. I feel at this point, we, the residents, need more time to review this expansion agreement.
Yeah, that was an interesting portion of this, by the way. Disneyland, if we look at the map here of what they want to do, let's see if I actually have it. I thought I did. Is it in the Deadline article? It might be. If we look at what they want to do here, no, it's not there. Yes, right here. You can see this is from Mice Chat right here covering this. And I don't know if you can see this, but there's Magic Way that kind of passes between the parking structures and the Disneyland Hotel side of the west end there, and they want to purchase those, essentially. They're not saying they want to purchase those, but they want abandonments, and they're going to be paying money for them. It's a purchase. So a lot of people actually use that to get on the freeway. Well, Disney commissioned its own study, it's a Disney commission study, but they commissioned their own study, and they said that 99% actually of the people that go through on Magic Way are Disneyland Resort guests, and that only 87 of them were not Disneyland Resort guests. So for the Anaheim City Planning Commission, I guess that was enough right there. Let's continue.
I used Disney Drive. I used Magic Way. And Disney Drive, if you're coming out of like Sherwood Village, going to the 5 freeway, you're going to go right down Disney Drive, go right up onto the 5. And if that closes off, you have to fight the traffic.
Though
That right there is video of Magic Way, it looks like right there. Yeah, pretty contentious right there. A lot of interesting questions by Commissioner Perez that were
Oh yeah,
asked.
he's trying to get them stats. He wanted to know how many magic keys there were, what they're gonna build, when it's gonna start.
Well, he
I was like, ooh, keep going, Perez. I'm kind of curious too.
yes, I was very curious. Not in the purview at all of the
And then
Anaheim City
somehow-
Planning Commission.
Yeah,
But
and then somehow he decided to be the one person that not vote for it. But I'm still curious about his questions. But then, and it was so funny because the lead lady, whoever, said, "Excuse me, are we going off topic?"
Yes. And to illustrate this point, well, let's go ahead and do it in Perez's words right here. I think this is hilarious.
I love Disneyland. I mean, I
we
go
know
there
you
with
do,
my
Brett.
fiance almost once a week. I actually had my reservation today and I forgot I needed to cancel it. So to that point, I knew I wasn't going to get out of here. But I love Disneyland. I get it. I
Yes. During that diatribe, actually, he goes off and he talks about the formation of Disneyland, how Walt specifically chose the plot that he chose with the Stanford Research Institute. He goes on about Harrison Buzz Price. Didn't mention C.D. Vance, by the way. You gotta read up on that, Perez. He goes through the entire history of the resort, and finally, the chairwoman said, "What are we doing? We're in hour 6 of this thing. What are you doing?" And then,
Just now, we gotta
unfortunately,
get him on the channel, so it just he seems to know his history.
yes, we got to get him on. I agree. But Perez was the only no vote for this entire thing right here. Ironically enough, with the other council members.
He's probably salty that he got cut off, so he wanted to stick with
Probably, right? Probably. I think that's what it was. Sour grapes, right there. But there was some interesting stuff that I didn't previously know about going into this. We've covered Disneyland Forward extensively, and you can obviously look back in our shows where we break down pretty much everything to do with this. But they were talking about the impacts when it came to greenhouse gases and when it came to or greenhouse emissions, I should say, noise, all these other things. One of those things was cultural resources. They were talking about historic resources, and I guess anything older than 50 years, I guess there are some maybe state or federal laws that signify historic places. And, well, because Disneyland is a lot of it's over 50 years, that impacts a lot of the structures that are currently in place, including what you see before you, the exterior Pirates of the Caribbean, the Disneyland Resort train station and Main Street, Hunger Bay Restaurant, and the Pope House. Wizard, what'd you take from all this?
Yeah, it's pretty interesting because it's pretty historic site, and a lot of those things. You can see, with the very old style queues and things that aren't built for today's crowds. You can tell that a lot of it's super old, including the Haunted Mansion circled over there and that yellow there. But yeah, that's a pretty cool stuff. But yeah, definitely if you have the historic nature, it's need a special another permit to make some alterations to it.
Right. And I guess there is going to be a streamlining process connected to this as part of Disneyland Forward, which is interesting. I mean, some people are kind of worried. I know online or like, oh, wait a minute, is Disneyland Forward going to impact these specific items? There's a chance it might. And that's what they were trying to communicate to the audience right there. That I think didn't go very seen right there. There's one other aspect of this that I want to kind of go ahead and bring out here if I can find it. Let me see here. The Disney height, that's 143. Oh yeah. Fireworks, this was interesting. I did not know this. It looks like fireworks are not going to take place on any of these additional...
Yeah, not allowed on the expansion pads.
Right, on any of these expansion pads that Disneyland Forward deals with right there. I thought that was crucial right there. But they didn't say that no entertainment was going to take place. Obviously, there are, and you can kind of see the standards for that on this screen right here. but I believe it's at 131:38 on this video right here. Talks about the height plan, and this is crucial right here because, well, this height map actually goes back originally to the early 1960s, late 1950s, when Walt Disney himself wanted to create a Disney cone, and what that basically means is that any property outside of Disneyland is smaller or has a more severe height restriction, and then it gradually increases the farther away you get out from Disneyland Resort. And the reason why that was instituted in the first place, and by the way, only Walt Disney could do this, I don't think you could get this done today, is because he didn't want buildings intruding onto his park. There was a big real estate developer who wanted to set up a hotel with an overlook.
Sight lines, Donkey. Sight lines.
And interestingly enough, Jay Rasulo actually talked about that at the Tryon presentation. He talked about how the sightlines were important to preserving the magic, and he actually equivocated that to their film product, for example, and saying that, hey, just like our parks where you can't see the outside world, let's not bring the outside world into our immersive experiences, our fantastical experiences, stuff that should be escapist in nature. Let's go ahead and keep that stuff out. Well, similarly here, that's the height map that you see before you. Now, this was modified in the 1990s in order to build what the Imagineers wanted to do in the mid-1990s with Westcott. They wanted to build a 300-foot tall golden sphere that would have been massive. Spaceship Earth is only like 150 feet tall. So to have this in your backyard in Anaheim, wow, that would have been really something right there. Obviously,
one of the commenters, didn't they mention Westcott in one of their comments?
I do believe so, yes, because... And this is a reason why some of the residents right there were a little bit contentious, because they were saying, look, Disney promised that they would build Westcott, and they didn't. They built DCA, even though we gave them approval to build Westcott. So they have all the powers of building Westcott, but they ended up building Disney California Adventure. Why are we giving them necessarily the power to build all this stuff when we might not actually get that stuff? And that's a fair point, to be honest with you.
Sure it is.
And but there were it was contentious back then with this 300-foot sphere. That's partially why they didn't actually go forward with it, ironically enough. And now, well, they're looking to modify those 90s plans to incorporate these new expansion districts that you see before you right there. So that height plan would be modified just a little bit in order to incorporate some of those areas and allow for larger structures to be on those sites. So I thought that was very interesting. It's going forward, obviously. It's got a city council vote coming mid-April, it looks like. And I don't know. Anything else you want to bring up, Wizard?
Well, yeah, let's see if it gets approved. Then I hopefully we can start on that parking garage, the Eastern Gateway, this summer.
I do agree. And there are actually more updates to the Disneyland Resort if we're going to be staying over here in Anaheim. It looks like those new entry gates that Wizard was the first one, to be honest with you, to find as part of the permitting process. Well, it looks like they're testing these things out right here. Give me one more second.
Looks pretty cool. So I'm not too familiar with the Paris version, which this is. What is this facial tech or what do you? I know I can see the thing where you scan your magic band. But if you don't, you just put your phone underneath and it scans it, or how does it work?
It looks like you put your phone underneath. We're going to actually have to actually see what system they employ right here. It looks like there might be some facialization taking place right here. That's probably for cameras where they take your photo and a cast member identifies whether or not you are consistent with that photo. That's probably what that's about more than anything else, because I know that California has they got some laws preventing some facial recognition software. We'll see if they actually implement it though. Yeah, so they're making a big point that these are turnstile-less. So anybody who's in a stroller, who's in a wheelchair, who's in a ECV, what have you, can actually use any of these turnstiles. That previously wasn't the case. You had a limited number of turnstile lists. They had like a gate entry points that you could actually use. Robert Nile says, new entry gates coming to Disneyland theme parks. Say bye-bye to turnstiles. Disneyland Resort is previewing new entry gates that will be installed at Disneyland and Disney California Adventure starting later this year. Disneyland installed a model of this new entry gate at Disney California Adventure Park. The model gate will be available for a limited time. Disneyland officials said that the new entry gate will be ADA compliant to allow ECVs, wheelchairs, and strollers to use any entry gate once the project is completed in 2025. Quote, we continue to invest in the overall guest experience, and our updated, enhanced entry gates will really alleviate the process of arriving at our parks, Kevin Giddon, General Manager, Arrival Experience, said. Quote, the test entry gate installed at Disney California Adventure will enable our teams to get hands-on experience that will help inform the final install beginning later this year. So this is a test to see whether or not their design is going to actually work, whether it's scalable, whether they have to do any modifications before final installation, which is going to take a considerable amount of money. I mean, Wizard, I thought your permit said that at least $10 million. Is that right?
Yeah, there's quite a few because they're doing both parks. But I like this. This should definitely speed up this picture-taking process here, which is nice. And turnstile process, that took a couple of seconds. This one you can go right through. So I'm very excited for this nice upgrade in technology. Hopefully, Disneyland gets more to be like their counterpart at Walt Disney World.
I do agree. I look forward to more additions and improvements to Disneyland Resort, especially with a new round of investment that might turbocharge these parks. We'll get to that in a moment, folks. But before we leave Anaheim, I want to go ahead and do this story right here because I think it's important. Not this one. It's this one. Okay.
The cypress trees.
The cypress trees. Okay, so these cypress right here at the exterior of the Haunted Mansion actually have their roots not quite, in 1967 when the Haunted Mansion opened, but actually it goes before that. I believe starting in about 1955-56 is how far these things actually go back there. And you can see some wonderful photos of these cypress right here. And the history of them right here. This is them flanking the Clock of the World that used to be at the entrance of Tomorrowland. I believe that's within Tomorrowland, looking out right there is where that photo is taken. Until they add the flagpoles. I believe they started out with 48 flags until they obviously ramped it up as more states were added to the Union. But you can see those same cypress right there. In amongst those flagpoles right there. Now, when the 67 version of the land was being built, obviously those cypress had to go somewhere, and where else than the facade, along the facade of the Haunted Mansion, which I believe I believe it had always existed since 1963. Haunted Mansion wouldn't open until 1969, so it was there for a time. You can see those cypress right there. Well, in preparation to have a new exterior building right here, exterior shop and so forth, these have been removed, as you can see right there. It is very, very heartbreaking because they are historic trees to the Disneyland Resort. There's not many of these things left right here, so to lose these beautiful cypress that have been there for over 60 years. I'm not too thrilled. Wizard,
you think they're gonna plant them back?
I hope they do. I think they are. I mean, if you look at the concept art right here, you can see some cypress in the back, right? Mm-hmm. Or things that's supposed to be cypress paper. Mm-hmm. We'll see. But I hope they do. Because it's tough to lose historic trees like that. They just take so long to grow, and California is a little bit more. Yeah, we're trying to grow some cypress in the back, and those buggers are tough, man. Of course, it is Arizona. It's a little easier in California, but it's just really tough. It's just really tough to lose historic elements like that. But say la vie. Maybe it was time.
Don't worry, Dr. J. You can come look at our cypress trees in our house.
Well, maybe I will take you up on that. Speaking of things that are being removed right here, Barbara Boza.
Barbara Rose. She has been removed from the equation.
She has been removed from the equation. It turns out that on like Saturday morning, afternoon, or something like that, a very odd time for an announcement like this to take place, and it wasn't really formally announced. She just kind of posted on her LinkedIn profile.
LinkedIn page. That's so interesting.
Right? She says this. Barbara Boza, proudly building upon our extraordinary legacy, Imagineers are shaping a future that inspires humanity. Okay. As one global team of innovative creators and storytellers, we immerse our guests in experiences that make memories of a lifetime. All right. As a licensed architect, I was recruited by the Walt Disney Company to challenge the norm. What norm exactly? Maybe we'll find out. And bring broader global industry perspective and expertise. Okay, that's weird. Joining Walt Disney Imagineering in June 2020. I truly believe humanity needed Disney more than ever. The world was trying to understand the impact of a global pandemic, business disruption, stay-at-home orders, a reckoning on race, and growing political divide. Huh. You're an Imagineer. You understand. Okay. All right. These are weird things to say.
You're supposed to build stuff, okay?
Right. From there, Imagineers endured the pressures of talent reductions, unprecedented hyper-escalation on projects, political crosshairs, and the need to make life-changing decisions with their families around relocation from California to Florida. Through all this, Imagineers relentlessly created and delivered some of the most impactful projects in the history of the Walt Disney Company. The success has fueled the turbocharged growth of Disney experiences through $60 billion in investment over the next 10 years that Bob Iger and Josh Neymar will speak of. We'll get to that in a moment. So I want to take this moment to personally thank all the Imagineers, past and present and future, for making the impossible possible. It is bittersweet as I wrap up my work as president of Walt Disney Imagineering this month before I create an even bigger impact on the world. Stay tuned. Okay. Walt Disney Imagineering will be an excellent hands. Exactly.
What are we staying tuned? We're supposed to follow her progress or something.
I guess that's what they want us to do. WDI will be in excellent hands with my partner Bruce Vaughn. We will also get to that in a moment. Chief Creative Officer, who is an exceptional creative leader, and she has a quote here from Walt Disney that you can read down below, just for the sake of brevity. Okay, so there's a couple things I want to parse out here. First of all, challenge the norm. Okay, Wizard.
The norm of Pirates of the Caribbean?
Yes. Imagineering has been the envy of the world from architectural and, honestly, creative firms all around the world. What exactly needed to be challenged here that she was brought in to upend or subvert? What do you think?
The challenge of saving money, Dr. Dre.
Exactly. Challenge is saving. That's probably more accurate than we would like to believe right here. but
challenge of streamlining and saving money.
When I hear stuff like a reckoning on race, growing political divide.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, that's weird because you're supposed to design and build things for theme parks. So
right, she mentions humanity.
It's not a presidential campaign, you know.
Yeah, you know what? You're right. It's almost like a political rhetoric that we're hearing right now. It's bigger than yourself kind of thinking right here. She mentions humanity multiple times, and it's like, look, Epcot was, I would say, the closest to this vision that you could possibly get, but the company has since moved away from that. So when I hear about shaping humanity or a better world or inspires or whatever, the spidey sense gets tingling a little bit. It makes me a little bit uncomfortable. Now, because what that has meant in the modern corporate environment hasn't always been a good thing. Barbara Boza, though, she comes from Gensler. Interestingly enough, she switches jobs with Bob Weiss.
Who went to Gensler.
Who went to Gensler in her place. Right. From Gensler, she was the co-managing director, principal for Gensler Los Angeles. And in this role, she brought strategic design management to highly innovative clients such as Amgen, City of Hope, Debbie Allen, JPL, NASA, and Netflix. So what makes her qualified to actually work at Imagineering?
Nothing.
That's a good question because a lot of people had that same comment right here. It's interesting because this right here from I believe Dusty's article in Mice Chat. We have some potentially good news. The current president of Walt Disney Imagineering, Barbara Boza, is departing the company, leaving Bruce Vaughn, Chief Creative Officer in charge of Disney's soon-to-expand portfolio of Imagineering projects. Again, we'll get to that. I've met Barbara on a number of occasions. She's a very nice lady and a capable architect, one whom some in Imagineering call, quote, derisively call, Ma IKEA. And while Disney sought her out to shake things up in Imagineering, as many seasoned Imagineers will tell you, she was never really suited to lead the creative legacy of Disney. And you can kind of see that in Gensler's previous work here.
Well, of course, they design office buildings and hotels and traditional city stuff.
Right, exactly. They're more into industrial and commercial architectural projects. What exactly makes her qualified to necessarily bring that skill set to Imagineering? We can see the fruits of this decision right here in the form of like the Polynesian DVC, for example, where it looks to have no resemblance to the Polynesian or Polynesian architecture nearly at all right here. Let's see here. We have like Beaches and Cream, for example, something that was a fan favorite, but now after its reimagining has been stripped of much of its amazing theming. You can kind of see that in these photos right here. Very different from the highly themed aesthetic that was there before. The what is it? The refurbishment of the boardwalk, you can see here, feels like a letdown because people were saying that it feels basically like a franchise or chain hotel chain and not necessarily the special unique qualities that people really kind of stay for and pay the high premiums for at Disney. So I don't think she was a good fit here. Also, too, it's important to note that this was right after Josh D'Amaro actually toured Splash Mountain, or I should say Tiana's Spidey Adventure, which was a project that was under her direction in a lot of ways. So could that have something to do with it? We truly don't know, but I think there's enhanced scrutiny being applied to some of these creative directors, like Sean Bailey, for instance, at the studio division. He was recently let go, and now here is the second big firing, or I should say the second big move. Let's put it more precisely, from a creative head at Disney. What do you think about all this, Wizard?
Yeah, I think it's a good thing because hopefully, Bruce Vaughn's back in, or he'll be back in charge there. So hopefully, we'll get some better design stuff, especially with Disneyland Forward and whatever comes in the future. Yeah, Barbara will have a good time going over wherever she's going back, but yeah, she didn't really belong there. Look at Ralph Brennan's Jazz Kitchen, right? Because look at what she did there. That was pretty horrible. Yeah. So
yeah.
So hopefully we get some nice theming back into these projects and no cheap things, corporate office stuff. Let's get some nice theming back, especially with the Downtown Disney Phase 2, whatever happens with the Rainforest Cafe and all that. Yeah, it would be nice to, big scale projects. We got to have some big scale investments here.
Yeah, I mean, I think Wizard brings up a really good point about that Ralph Brennan's Jazz Kitchen right there. That was universally hated for stripping out a lot of its theming that used to be so profoundly, important to that restaurant and its atmosphere. You can see they've had a track record in recent years under Barbara of having to invest multiple times into projects. For example, like Donald Duck's boat. It still hasn't opened, even though the land has been open for over a year now. That's embarrassing. Obviously, we've had issues with Tron, which is basically just essentially just a carbon copy of what we actually got at Shanghai. More of that in a moment. We spent 4 years redoing the entrance to Epcot, and only for it to have its beautiful LED display right here become non-functioning because of, I guess, pressure washing in this area. Very embarrassing, especially if you understand how theme parks work and operate. And then, obviously, a Journey of Water inspired by marijuana has had to be covered up by additional walls shortly after its opening in October because, well, the quality of work is not up to par with what should have been there in the first place. So, how much of these projects had we just spent the money the first time, getting good quality craftsmen and actually designing these things properly, could we have saved in the long run had we done them right to begin with? So that's kind of the that's kind of been the argument when it comes to quality of execution, also theming, like you said, Wizard, and so forth. So I think we're in good hands with Bruce Vaughn right here. We're gonna have to see though. I don't think we're out of the woods yet, but we are in a much better place. And speaking of where we could go as part of this place, actually, let's see if I can actually find it right here. Ah, yes, Scott Guston. He found some. Oh, go please,
Scotty.
Yes, friend of the channel, Scott Guston. He found some interesting SEC filings. They were connected to Disney's white paper response to Trian, who is in currently a proxy battle to get two of its members, Nelson Peltz and Jay Rasulo, on the board there. Well, in a response to their white paper, which was 133 pages, they published one which was about 60 pages. So in this new filing, Disney provided additional information about the company's planned 10-year, $60 billion investment in the experiences segment. A new breakdown of the plan shows 50% at parks, resorts, 20% cruise and other, and 30% on tech and maintenance. It says right here, Disney previously revealed 70% of the $60 billion plan is earmarked for capacity expand investments across experiences segment. Also in the filing, Disney says the money will be spent on expanding the footprint, innovative technology, and reaching new fans across the world. This is interesting because Disney's Trian's own white paper asks some very critical questions as to how this money would actually be spent, because in their white paper, which I wish I had in front of me, but I don't, I'll just tell you the information anyway. A third of the overall profit for the entire company, this is not just the experiences segment, this is the entire company, comes from Walt Disney World specifically. It is a huge, not only revenue driver, but profit center for the entire company. So it is crucial to know, how much of this money is actually going towards that resort specifically. How much of it is actually coming domestically? How much of it is actually going internationally? What is the cadence, the annual spend that will be spent on these theme parks? Is it $6 billion a year? Is it some other cadence that we don't necessarily recognize? What is in the details of this whole thing? And they provide some details, but not a lot. Here we go right here. So 70% of the plan is earmarked for capacity expanding improvements. So what they're doing here, you can look at this kind of another way. See that 50% for parks and resorts, right? Mm-hmm. And you see that 20% that's cruise and other. That's your 70% right there. Mm-hmm. 30%, which is kind of what we already knew, was going to be tech and maintenance right there. You can see that in kind of the maroon color code right there. But only 50%, that's the crucial thing. Only $30 billion of those dollars are actually going to be spent on new investments in the parks that will expand capacity. And that could take on multiple meanings. It doesn't necessarily have to do with attractions or themed lands.
And after out of that $30 billion, you got 2.5 max at Disneyland and 17 for Disney World and the rest for the international parks. So there you go, huh?
Exactly. If you split this up between the 10 theme parks that Disney has a some kind of interest in, and that takes out the Tokyo parks. Tokyo parks are run specifically by the Oriental Land Company, and Disney gets a license a licensing fee for the use of their names and Imagineering and so forth. They have nothing to do with the Tokyo parks. Well, that leaves the 10 that Disney has a stake in. So if you divide those up equally, that's about $300 million per park per year. Now, people say, oh, that's a lot, though. You can do a whole ton of a lot. Well, not really. It's not as much as you think. And to illustrate that right here, I wrote a little segment on it right here. Remember when there were a few of us, like Pro and Jonas, who was saying that this CapEx wasn't necessarily a ton because you have to take into account all the other expenses that come with actually operating these theme parks and inflation and so forth. But now that we know that it's only going to be 30%, which is a much more realistic figure, here we go right here. $300 million doesn't even buy you a headliner attraction nowadays. Guardians of the Galaxy, for example, Cosmic Rewind was about $500 million. Rise of the Resistance, about $400 million, and Flight of Passage at $500 million. And many of those had even surpassed those amounts right there. Tron is highly expected to exceed that figure. The figure I was looking at was about 320 or so, but you know, for the sake of this argument, we'll leave that out for now. But when you factor in inflation, which the Associated Builders and Contractors reports that building materials have increased 37.7% since 2020, well, it's even less. So when you start really kind of looking into this, it's not that much.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I guess we'll have to. But once again, we don't even know what's coming because they don't commit to anything. So, yeah.
I know. You can see
numbers again, right? All with the numbers, but no actual timelines or things. It gets very old, Dr. Dre.
It does. You know, the only project that they've committed to that we haven't seen necessarily additional work on is like the Marvel e-ticket, for example, for California Adventure. We see that the Beyond Big Thunder project, the Animal Kingdom project, and the Avatar project, obviously. But those are pie in the sky ideas until we actually get those things down on paper right here, until we actually commit to those. Meanwhile, Universal has committed a $17 billion figure for its theme parks in Florida. We know that they're spending huge money in Universal in Hollywood, which we'll get into. But this is the white paper. This is the portion of the Treon white paper that I was referring to previously. How will the capital expenditures be allocated by park? What is the expected annual cadence of these things? You know, and they have more questions along with that. You can actually see at the top of this right here, Disney World in Orlando contributes approximately 1/3 of Disney's operating income. Operating income is their profit segment. And with Epic Universe coming, they know Epic Universe is coming. What are we doing to respond? That's the biggest question. And we still have little answers. So that is what's going on right there. Very interesting to see these two titans, such as Tryon and Disney, go to war with each other.
That vote will be very interesting next month.
Oh, yes. Speaking of stuff that's happening in Florida, I want to go ahead and go over some of this stuff real fast right here. A new ticket offer for Walt Disney World for the spring and summer. Ticket. That is correct. Look at this right here. 4-day, 4-park magic ticket. The same ticket offer, I do believe, that they had last year that we were able to take advantage of when we actually visited last year. It looks like they're doing the same thing again. And if you remember, that was kind of a soft year for the Walt Disney Company at its Florida parks. Are they expecting the same softness? I think they are. And that is very, very interesting indeed right here. Meanwhile, Universal, they're getting ready with Epic Universe right here. You can see some Donkey Kong coaster testing right here.
Look at that, huh?
Look at that right there. Look at that. You see it? Blink and you miss it. But it's going on right here. Now, there will be, 10 cars on the track at any one time?
Yeah, should be about 10.
Okay.
Moving along, jumping over obstacles like that guy right there, Doctor.
It's phenomenal. Definitely look back on YouTube on our, Theme Park Universe episode 11, where we actually see the 3D animatics of these things. It is phenomenal. It is so cool. I cannot wait to have this thing open right here. A BioReconstruct, the amazing BioReconstruct, caught some very interesting things.
Ride vehicles all over the place.
Ride vehicles all over the place. Multiple followers have spotted probably the first boat of the family water shooter ride in How to Train Your Dragon Land, believed to be called Fire Drill. That's a great name. First aerial March 9th stage to descend a ramp into the water. You can see that right there. Second aerial February 28th. Seemed like it had just arrived. You can see right there. Oh, it looks so good. It looks so great.
Nice little Viking ship, huh?
Absolutely, absolutely. Here is the overview of his recent aerial photographs in the sky right here. This just looks phenomenal. Dark Universe Portal, Yoshi Cars. There's so much stuff in here. We just simply don't have time to break it all down, but you can see right here.
Which one opens first, the Epic Universe or the Communicore Plaza?
By the way, by how fast Disney's working, probably Epic Universe, to be honest with you.
Disney's a lot of work left to Communicore Plaza.
It is. I'd say probably Disney at Universal is probably going to be first on that race right there, because Disney has just been very, very slow. Unless it's something like Tiana's by Adventure, then they're going rapid fire right there.
Or a DVC tower.
That's a good point right there. Which, by the way, that's part of that $60 billion. Don't think they're not going to spend money on DVC. Okay, we just saw that Disneyland Forward meeting. They said a lot about DVC at that Disneyland Forward meeting. Okay,
and they're making a new DVC kiosk in California Adventure. 2 of them actually.
Right. They're ramping up DVC. Okay, and some of these resorts can cost as much as $500 million if you really go theme heavy with them. So again, you got to factor that into the cost here. You can see right here, this is the Yoshi attraction right there. You can see the ride vehicles. They are in place. Very cute, very cool. It's supposed to be like almost like a people mover type attraction. Very awesome. You can see right here, Donkey Kong. The facades look great. Still dirt, but everything is looking really, really good so far. And then that amazing Dark Universe mansion right there.
Oh. Look at that. I think your dad is going to love that one.
I think he is. He is a huge fan of some of this stuff right here. Of what is it? The horror stuff, classic horror. Oh man, you're not gonna find a bigger fan right there. But speaking of new additions, the domestic parks aren't the only things that are being added to right here. We just got.
How about the Starfall Racers train?
Oh, the Starfall Racers train. Yes. That I do have that actually. Here. We'll talk about this first before because I completely forgot about that, and Ethan just reminded me. Okay, but we have new trademarks filed now for.
Look how cool that looks.
Look at how beautiful that looks, right? Oh, this is absolutely amazing right here. I understand it looks like a little bit like a cinnamon roll up top, but with it lit up, it looks very, very cool. I love it. I think it looks really, really great. The Space Mountain Earthrise is the trademark filed by Disney for this edition in Japan. Again, this is in Japan. And it's supposed to be opening 2027.
Like that.
Yeah, the word on the street here is that this attraction is going to be like a Cosmic Rewind, but Space Mountain. So it's going to use that same technology. Now, because that technology and the coaster cars and that Vekoma track design requires so much space, and especially if you get projections in there, obviously it's going to be a much larger show building. So that's why they're tearing down Space Mountain Classic, which was designed after the 1977 version of Disneyland, and building a new version entirely. So Space Mountain Earthrise is what they're going for right there. But Starfall Racers... Oh, you were saying, Wizard?
I like that name.
I do too. It's very Japanese, I will say. But Starfall Racers right here. Here we go.
Look at that. Speaking of space.
Yes. This is the new coaster that will be opening with Epic Universe. And interestingly enough, no, if you can see right here, I don't know if can the viewers see. I hope they can see if you get real close. No over-the-shoulder restraints. This is really, really cool. I know some people were like, but I like over-the-shoulder restraints. Well, I don't know. I guess some people like bear attacks as well, but I'm not one of those people. I like the lack of over-the-shoulder restraints. It's a much more free-feeling coaster design. It is much more thrilling. It is much more exciting. It's much more epic. I love this whole thing. I love how the industry has moved this direction right here. One thing to note, though, it doesn't look like there's going to be onboard audio, which is a shame. Wizard.
Oh, but there is, though.
Wait, what? How so, Wizard?
There is onboard audio. In fact, there's multiple things here, Doctor. There's onboard audio, and at nighttime, you can't see them, but there's the coaster will be pitch black, but on the sides will be like little stars, so it'll look like it's twinkling.
Wow. There is onboard audio, really?
Oh, yes, there is. There'll be a space-themed track playing with you. And
wow.
on the very back of each train, there'll be a Back to the Future reference.
You know, with the onboard audio, with the Back to the Future reference, with the whole theme, like I know this is going to be sacrilegious to say, but the vibe of it is almost like Disneyland Paris's original Space Mountain.
And it looks like it too.
A little bit, right? A little bit. Now I get it. You know, thematically, there's a chasm here. I get it, but this looks awesome. This looks great, and I can't wait. I cannot wait for this attraction to open. Onboard audio. Wizard, this might be a premium coaster experience in all of Florida. It might take Velocicoaster.
Yeah, have you seen? Look at those. I mean, look at those crazy elements. That's insane.
I agree. Speaking of coasters, interestingly enough, Starfall Racers and what's I forgot the name now. Wait, hang on. Space Mountain Earthrise. Okay, aren't the only ones that are opening up here. Not that
Barbara
one.
Bruce of the coaster.
Yeah, she's had a coaster of a time. She's on a ride of a lifetime. That's what it is. When it comes to her career, we'll see. We'll stay tuned. Yes, I'm sure. Scott Gustin, Shanghai Disney Resort says a new attraction is in the preliminary planning stages and, quote, initial preparation work for construction recently started in an area adjacent to Zootopia Land. The attraction will be separately themed and not be an extension of Zootopia Land. Since the resort's opening in June of 2016, the resort's Shanghai Disneyland theme park has already undergone 2 expansions, with the opening of Disney Pixar Toy Story Land in April 2018, and the opening of a second new themed land, Zootopia, in December of 2023. As the resort enters the Year of the Dragon, resort shareholders and management continue to show optimism about Shanghai Disneyland. Recently, the resort began initial preparation work for the construction of a separately themed attraction to be located within Shanghai Disneyland, adjacent to Zootopia. However, the project work is at its initial planning stage, and resort shareholders and management look forward to providing more updates as work progresses in the future. The latest expansion plans demonstrate Shanghai Disney Resort's commitment to providing new offerings and developing the resort as a multi-day tourism destination for guests near and far. Interestingly enough, the pilings have started for the work associated with the 3rd Disney-themed hotel. And those were recently completed right there. You can see a little bit of that right there. Now, this new attraction, Wizard, what do we think this is going to be?
We think it's going to be a Vekoma launched Spider-Man coaster.
Yes.
Because Spider-Man does whatever Spider-Man does.
Well, hang on. We're gonna get copyright strike by one of our platforms here. You gotta hold off on that. However, yes, it looks like Spider-Man is going to be the theme for this new attraction, and it is going to be a coaster. You were saying a Vekoma launch coaster? That is cool.
Oh yes.
We'll have to see what this actually entails right here. Hearing some good things, and I believe this is the first time a Marvel property has been set up permanently within Shanghai. Is that right?
Yeah, no, I'm trying to think. Yeah, that'll be the first time a Marvel is there, and they get the cooler Spider-Man right than us.
Now, interestingly, Hong Kong was supposed to get the e-ticket that we were going to get in Disney California Adventure. When those plans changed, that original version, which was based off of the it's like the VTOL. What is that ship that they have in Marvel? It's you see it actually. You see it on the facade of the Avengers campus. The Quinjet, right? It's supposed to be a Quinjet ride. Obviously, it's not happening, or at least the Marvel e-ticket is taking on a different form. And Hong Kong is, from my understanding, not getting that attraction, and it is landlocked. But it has a series of Marvel attractions because Marvel is huge out there in Asia, while Shanghai is getting in on the Marvel action itself. To finish this off right here,
I'm curious. You remember that was on Matching Store or something? Remember there was that concept art or that model, the Spider-Man coaster? It looked like Rock and Roller Coaster or something. But there's that. It was a Spider-Man coaster, and you went through like these gigantic, like physical sets with buildings and stuff.
I don't quite remember that, but I can see it. Okay,
I'll try to find it later on. But I wonder if that could be that. It was like an old idea, but I wonder if they can be something like that because that looked pretty dope.
I do wonder what a Spider-Man coaster kind of entails. You could do a lot of unique stuff with that kind of. With that theme, obviously, it could be kind of cool to have a Vekoma Omni coaster type technology, similar to what's being used in Tokyo's Space Mountain, as we just went over. But Spider-Man themed, that could work as well, where you have webs kind of hook onto your vehicles and stuff like that and drag you across. That could be awesome.
Ooh, that sounded cool.
But I want to go ahead and highlight this story because I think this is really, really cool, and Wizard has some unique information attached to it right here. The history of the studio tour at Universal Studios Hollywood is so extensive. It goes back to 1964, and because of that, they are now celebrating the 60th anniversary of the studio tour in just an amazing way. Harper Goff originally designed the trams that were in use back in the day, and that was up until about 1977, if I recall correctly. And before they changed out the tram designs, well, they're going back to that original design for the studio tour trams. You can see images of them right here. They look phenomenal. I believe 7 of the 22 trams will actually be covered in this kind of special what is it?
Like
overlay.
A little wrap overlay.
Right. To harken back to those original trams. Can you tell us any additional information about what they're doing here?
Oh, yes. And I can also tell you can find those original Glamour tram, at least the back cars, on the nice parking lot tram that takes to the metro station. That's cool. But Zombie look over, they dressed those up in red too. But we have the Glamour tram here for the 60th anniversary. And we have some other cool stuff coming next month, such as you'll be able to hop off and walk around the Bates Motel and Psycho sets for some cool surprises. And there'll be tons of food and themed merch and entertainment. About the revamped Earthquake set with a more modern looking subway station and some cool behind the scenes tech, just upgrading computers. And they'll have what else we got? We got our refreshed World of the World set and a whole bunch of cool stuff as well. So look for that cool stuff starting next month, and official details in the next few weeks here, because it should be super exciting.
And the suspicion after the celebration concludes in August, what are we thinking?
We're thinking that the 7 trams here are all diesel trams, so we're thinking those will be retired because next year the studio tour will be relocated down to the lower lot to coincide with the opening of Fast and Furious to free up some space, and then on the Steel Tour Plaza area, and to bring the Steel Tour right back to its rightful home downstairs.
Downstairs, that's exactly it. This is some really interesting stuff right here, folks. I mean, if you think the investment, if you think they're going to lighten up on the gas pedal, Comcast and Universal into their parks when it comes to investment, I think again. they're going big. They're really committing to it. This area in which the load unload for these trams exists right now, if you dedicate that, and obviously it's associated bays and so forth, if you dedicate that towards expansion for the park, especially if you incorporate areas like Falls Lake and stuff, the sky's the limit on how big this stuff can be. I mean, this could really revolutionize the Hollywood Park going forward in a big way right here. This is just phenomenal.
And don't forget that hotel's still coming.
Hotels are still going as the Hollywood Park makes its transition from a park to a resort. I think it's super cool. This is totally awesome. I love what Universal's doing. I love what Universal's doing with this tram. I think this is great right here. What a way to go out.
All made possible by the approval of the MEC Evolution Plan, which is that their version of the Disneyland Forward initiative.
Indeed. And we have so much stuff. There's so much stuff in the works, guys. We can't get to it all. But thank you, Wizard, for having me on and taking our viewers through Theme Park Universe Podcast number 12.
And theme park history.
Theme park history, that's right.
We got some Disney history in there and some Universal history in there.
We try.
That's what I'm talking about. Well, and thank you guys for joining. Subscribe for more theme park updates every 1st and 15th. And as always, have a galaxicious day, a galarific day.